Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
A man accused of a deadly hit and run is behind bars at this hour. Investigators with the Hardin County Sheriff's Office arrested Britton Kerr today. State troopers say the 27-year-old ran a stop sign and collided with a motorcyclist on Highway 90 at Main Lane west of Beaumont back in September. Troopers say Kerr drove off and failed to render aid. The motorcyclist, 71-year-old Kenneth Weaver, later died in the hospital. Now, troopers initially thought that Kerr was the passenger, but evidence shows he was behind the wheel.
We now call case number 22-39687, the state of Texas versus Britton. Is it Britton?
Yes, sir.
Like in the country? Doyle Kerr. You were Mr. Kerr?
Yes, sir.
Present with your attorney, Mr. Reynolds, and the state's attorney. Does the defendant waive a formal reading of the indictment and the arraignment here? Can we proceed in summary?
He does, and you may, Judge.
In summary, this indictment alleges that on or about September 7th, 2021, in Jefferson County, Texas, you committed the second-degree felony of accident involving injury or death. Do you understand what you are charged with here?
Yes, sir.
Someone convicted of a second-degree felony will face no less than 2 nor more than 20 years confinement in prison, and a fine can be assessed up to $10,000. Do you understand the punishment range?
Yes, sir.
An agreement's been reached in your case. You would be pleading guilty and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, sir.
If I follow this agreement, you have no right of appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
How do you plead to this indictment charging you with this second-degree felony of accident involving injury or death? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty voluntarily and because you are guilty of this offense?
Yes, sir.
I show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 1. Did you sign that document?
Yes,
Did
sir.
you understand it? Discuss it with your attorney? Are the contents all true and correct?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 1 is tendered into evidence.
No objection.
And without objection admitted. Among other things, this states that you are mentally competent to enter your guilty plea, which is being freely and voluntarily made. You know what you've been charged with. The indictment's been read to you, or you've read it. You understand it fully. You were guilty of this crime charged in any lesser included offenses. You are giving up your rights to a jury trial and the right to the appearance, confrontation, cross-examination of witnesses. You were totally satisfied with the representation provided by your lawyer. All of this is true, it states, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 1 is made a part of the record for all purposes. Is the pre-sentence report waived here?
So waived, Judge.
Is there anything else to add?
No, Your Honor.
If not, I'm going to find Mr. Kerr, you are pleading guilty to this second-degree felony voluntarily, knowingly, intelligently. There's sufficient evidence supporting your guilty plea from State's Exhibit 1 here to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I now find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of this offense. I am following this agreement. You are hereby sentenced to confinement in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve a term of 10 years. Do you understand what has happened today, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, that is all entered into the record. What's next? It was Mr. Weaver who passed, right?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay. I knew of Mr. Weaver. I knew him to be a very good man who was a public servant, who certainly earned respect of all the people who associated with him in the federal system. And this whole sordid mess started with a woman being charged, and then later it turned into you, who was apparently the actual person who was responsible for this. Well, it number one, it's an event where somebody's life is taken, and when someone is injured, or certainly when their life is taken, responsible people sometimes don't have the courage to face the responsibility and deal with it immediately. I don't know what took this delay in someone like you coming forward, but not only Mr. Weaver, but anyone else who would have been in that circumstance deserved better than the way you treated a fellow human being. That was pretty low and cowardly. And it's ironic that he would pass based upon a cowardly act when he represented the complete opposite. He was a very a person who was dedicated to helping others, following his oath to see that justice is done, and was just a very good person. Too often in this court, we have instances where good people are harmed by others. And I'm sure that there's a master plan involving all of this. I believe in that. But needless to say, it's still a tragic event, because I'm sure moments before this happened, I'm sure he was thinking about his family, about his life, and how he was enjoying it, and being someone who was a wonderful person who made life better on this planet because he was here. And you took that away. And the people involved with all this mess of who did it took that away. I just thought you ought to know, because anybody's life, everybody's life is worth something that's important, and it's not worth taking away, especially in a foolish mistake. But to cowardly walk away from it and hide is a terrible thing. But it shows the contrast, because how good of a person you were responsible for killing, and how evil your acts were in part of this. Now, maybe you are a good person, but you certainly didn't act like a responsible, decent human being on this day. And a wonderful, decent person who made a positive difference in the world was taken away because of your foolish actions. All right. You may be the kind of person who doesn't even care. I think you do care to some degree, but whether you care or not, those statements have to be said, because if not, then what we do here is kind of fruitless. But I don't believe in that. I believe people make mistakes and they fix their mistakes, and they try to fix their mistakes. But unfortunately, some mistakes cannot be fixed. We haven't been able to bring somebody back to life, especially some wonderful people who we have had to deal with their loss in this courtroom, like Kenneth Weaver, a public servant, true to his oath. And I'm sure those people are going to miss him greatly. His family and friends, those who knew him. But you were responsible by your irresponsible actions. And hey, mistakes are made. It's how you deal with your mistake is what makes a good person act well versus a bad person who acts poorly. You didn't act well. You acted poorly. And he was a man who deserved better than just being left out there for others to fix your mistake, to try to clean up your mess. You should know those things. Maybe from here on, you can dedicate your life to, in some small way, being nearly as good as he was, because he was a very good man. And the great thing is he will be remembered because of his good works will live on. And hopefully people will get your mess you made behind them in their memory. But you made a mess that is unfixable. Maybe you can live your life dedicated to doing good works instead of making messes like this terrible mess you made here for his family and friends and those who knew him. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
That is all.